Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive question about modern wealth. Is it luck, inheritance, or strategy? We hear all sorts of narratives about how the ultra-wealthy got to where they are, but today we're pushing past the noise and looking squarely at the data. We're going to deconstruct the specific wealth-building blueprints of three of the most successful individuals in human history: Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk. By contrasting their unique strategies, we're going to uncover exactly how extreme wealth is built and, just as importantly, how it's sustained. To really understand why we're digging into this, just look at the sheer scale of wealth today. $1 trillion. It's almost hard to wrap your head around. In June of 2026, following the initial public offering of SpaceX, Elon Musk achieved something unprecedented. He became the world's first individual trillionaire. His net worth hit this staggering milestone, which actually accounted for roughly 3% of the entire United States GDP at the time. An event like this completely redefines what we thought was possible for individual wealth accumulation. But how exactly does someone get here? Well, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the Billionaire Wealth Blueprint, then dive into three case studies: Gates with diversification and dominance, Zuckerberg's networks and pivots, and Musk's extreme risk tolerance. After that, we'll cover the philanthropy and legacy divide, and finally, wrap up with some practical lessons for the rest of us. Okay, part one, the Billionaire Wealth Blueprint, data over myth. Let's get right into it. Before we talk about the individuals, we really need to look at the hard data. There's this fascinating IZIZ study that analyzed the 100 richest self-made Americans, and it totally blows a popular myth right out of the water. Ask anyone on the street how the ultra-rich got there, and they'll probably say, oh, inheritance, trust funds. But look at this. The data shows the exact opposite. A staggering 89% of these top 100 billionaires accumulated their wealth independently without any significant early financial capital from their families. Only 11% receive substantial early funding. So, if it isn't a massive family trust fund driving this, what is the actual engine? The true engine of extreme wealth isn't inheritance at all. It's innovation. Specifically, it's heavily tied to securing patents and forming companies. Get this, 94 out of the 100 billionaires in that study founded at least one company. We also see that attending elite institutions and building powerful personal networks serve as absolutely crucial catalysts. It's really that perfect storm of human capital, relentless innovation, and strategic relationships that truly moves the needle. Moving on to Section 2, Gates, diversification, and dominance. Let's look at our first archetype, the diversifier. With a net worth hovering right around $120 billion, Bill Gates offers a literal masterclass in capital preservation. Now, everyone knows he built his initial wealth through absolute dominance with Microsoft, right? He created a tech platform that became a ubiquitous part of modern life. But how do you stay consistently on the richest lists decades later? Through his private investment company, Cascade Investment, Gates pragmatically diversified his Microsoft equity into real estate, energy, hospitality, and broad infrastructure assets. He didn't just hold on to tech stock, he built a fortress around his wealth to manage risk across different sectors. And behind this conservative, highly effective strategy is a very specific lifestyle. Gates is incredibly pragmatic and private, and famously prioritizes learning above pretty much everything else. And this isn't just a casual hobby. His voracious reading habit across diverse scientific and historical genres directly informs massive long-term investments. That continuous obsessive learning is exactly what drives his strategic plays in climate tech and computational biology through his private office, Gates Ventures. All right, Section 3, Zuckerberg, networks, and pivots. Now we have Mark Zuckerberg sitting on a massive $193.5 billion fortune. He represents our second archetype, the networker and pivoter. Chronologically, his journey perfectly validates everything we just saw about elite networks. He launched Facebook back in 2004, utilizing his Harvard connections, and took the company public in 2012, locking in massive tech platform equity. But here is where he completely diverges from Gates. While Gates stepped back to diversify into physical assets, though Zuckerberg did buy a $59 million Tahoe property, Zuckerberg's defining wealth trait is his aggressive corporate adaptability. In 2021, he didn't just diversify outside his company, he literally pivoted his entire empire toward the metaverse, rebranding to Meta. He uses his vast resources to force continuous innovation from within his primary wealth vehicle. Which brings us to Section 4, Musk, extreme risk tolerance. And here is our trillion-dollar ceiling breaker, Elon Musk. He represents the high-risk obsessive archetype, and he possesses a highly unusual, almost chaotic combination of qualities. We see that same obsessive learning. I mean, the guy literally taught himself the fundamentals of rocket engineering by reading textbooks. But he pairs that with an absolute extreme baseline of 100-hour work weeks, famously sleeping on factory floors during production crunches. Combine this relentless work ethic with a unique ability to attract elite talent to his mission-driven companies, and you've got a recipe for surviving brutal markets through rapid adaptation. But what truly separates Musk from the pack is his terrifying tolerance for risk. His own words capture this perfectly. Think about this. After making $180 million from selling PayPal, most sensible people would diversify. Instead, Musk poured nearly all of it into SpaceX, Tesla, and SolarCity. Then, during the 2008 financial crisis, with both SpaceX and Tesla on the brink of bankruptcy, he faced the agonizing choice of saving one or risking both. He chose to risk it all to save both companies. He even had to borrow money just to pay his personal rent. It was an absolute all-or-nothing gamble that ultimately paved the way to his trillion-dollar status. So, side by side, we are looking at two entirely opposite philosophies. Musk is all in. He concentrates his wealth in highly volatile, mission-driven companies, fully embracing extreme risk. On the other hand, you have Gates, representing a fortress of capital preservation, taking those massive chips off the table from his primary tech win and spreading them across broad, stable assets to protect the fortune. They're completely different paths, yet both lead to absolute historical levels of wealth. Let's move on to Section 5, the philanthropy and legacy divide. So how do these distinct strategies impact what they actually do with their money? Well, their legacy approaches mirror their business blueprints perfectly. Gates approaches giving like a massive, systematic infrastructure project through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, heavily focusing on evidence-based global health and climate interventions. Zuckerberg, mirroring his all-in tech focus, has pledged 99% of his Meta stake to his Chan Zuckerberg initiative over his lifetime to fund scientific research. And Musk, true to his high-risk, mission-driven style, he directs his wealth towards solving what he sees as existential threats. This includes establishing a $100 million STEM-focused school in Texas, funding the Future of Life Institute, and significantly backing political causes, including over $291 million donated to pro-Trump and aligned political PACs during the 2024 election cycle. Their giving is just as distinctly different as their earning.
And finally, Section 6, lessons for the rest.
It is definitely fascinating to look at trillion-dollar fortunes, but let's bring these strategies down to earth for a minute for the focused learner. Looking at this framework, we've got Gates, the diversifier, who proves that long-term wealth requires transitioning from singular dominance to broad capital preservation. Then you have Zuckerberg, the networker, showing us the unmatched value of elite institutional connections combined with the willingness to pivot your core business aggressively. And of course, Musk, the high-risk obsessive, proving that outsized historical returns often demand enduring extreme personal discomfort and placing staggering, concentrated bets on your own capabilities. Because ultimately, we've seen that the blueprint isn't built on inheritance. It's built on a foundation of innovation, powerful networks, and the courage to take calculated risks. The data proves it, and these 3 case studies exemplify it in completely different ways. So the crucial point to take away from this explainer is this. Which elements of these archetypes resonate with your journey? As you look at your own professional or entrepreneurial path, how will you leverage your networks? Where can you push for deeper innovation? Are you playing it too safe or taking the right kinds of risks? It's time to build your blueprint.